The summer sun over Windsor Great Park has an almost enchanted quality, warm enough to quicken the scent of cut turf, bright enough to make the ponies' sleek coats glimmer like bronze in motion. For 14 consecutive seasons that light has fallen on an almost unchanging scene. Prince William cantering onto the field in his navy and white number 4 jersey, mallet balanced like a scepter, a semicircle of charity booths along the touchline, and stationed just beyond the rails, the Princess of Wales in a wide-brimmed straw hat, laughing with donors, steadying a small child's hand at the raffle drum, and calling out gentle cheers that carry across the paddock. This July the pitch looked perfect, the fixtures familiar, yet something essential was missing. So much so that even spectators new to the Royal Charity Polo Cup sensed a note of incompleteness. Catherine was not there. Not tucked beneath the shade of the hospitality marquee, not walking the ponies with Pony Club protégés, not slipping an encouraging thumbs up to her husband before the first chukker. In her absence the match carried on. It had to. Millions of pounds for children's mental health programs and bereavement services depend on these mallets clashing each summer. But a hush lingered beneath the cheers, as if the great lawn itself were holding its breath. The palace had prepared supporters for the possibility, yet when confirmation finally came, just hours before the first throw-in, that the princess would again sit out, social media filled with equal parts disappointment and understanding sympathy. She is, after all, only a year past the brutal leg of her cancer fight. Diagnosis in early spring of 2024, a summer spent in chemotherapy suites, whose fluorescent lights were far harsher than any press flashbulb, and then 6 months of painstaking immunotherapy that left her perpetually chilled, achy, and prone to dizzy spells that ordinary photographs could never convey. By January of this year doctors pronounced the disease in remission, yet every survivor knows that remission is not restoration. It is a new and fragile beginning. Catherine has spoken of that fragility herself, how a short walk with Princess Charlotte can still leave her breathless, how scar tissue tightens when she bends, how she sometimes wakes at dawn unsure whether the day's energy will stretch to reading bedtime stories. It was precisely that uncertainty, aides say, which guided the decision to skip the polo. The cup is not a sedate garden party, where one might sit for half an hour and withdraw. It is 5 or 6 hours in open sun, greeting hundreds of guests, presenting trophies, reviewing silent auction lots, and coordinating impromptu moments with the children whose lives those auctions will change. She could have gritted her teeth and pushed through, one longtime staffer confided, but the price of that bravery would have been 3 days in bed, and she would rather devote those days to quieter hospital rounds where every conversation counts. Indeed, while Prince William tightened his pony's girth, Catherine slipped into a chalk-coloured coat dress, and spent the morning at the Royal Berkshire Hospital, walking slowly, but determinedly through the paediatric oncology ward that had once seemed a world away, and now feels like familiar territory. Parents noticed how she leaned in, unhurried, when a teenager described the metallic taste of chemotherapy, how she asked a 5-year-old to show her a finger-painted rainbow and then promised to hang a copy in her office. Doctors later admitted they had not expected her to understand the nuances of music therapy rhythms, or white cell count anxiety, but she asked the sort of follow-up questions only someone who has waited for her own scan results can frame. Back at the polo ground the match unfolded at pace. William, an athletic, almost fearless rider, scored twice in the opening 7 minutes, his mallet arcing perfectly. Between chukkers he dismounted to greet benefactors, many of whom wore lapel pins from Catherine's mental health project, Heads Together. In a brief, heartfelt welcome he thanked the crowd for standing with us in both sunshine and shadow, then added, almost off script, Catherine is taking one more step toward full strength, and she sends her love to every family here who knows what recovery really looks like. Those words landed softly yet solidly, like a mallet strike finding its mark, a reminder that charity is not spectacle, but shared vulnerability. William's solitary appearance also shifted attention to the Polo Cup's deeper story. What began in 2011 as a modest afternoon scrimmage within Windsor Home Park has, under their joint stewardship, grown into a fundraising juggernaut benefiting more than a dozen initiatives: early childhood trauma counseling, emergency accommodation for grieving military families, and a nationwide program training school counselors to spot signs of depression in teenagers. At Catherine's insistence, each year the beneficiary list is refreshed, with half the chosen charities coming from outside London, so impact spreads far beyond the capital. In 2018, she introduced a complimentary picnic zone where local state school pupils could learn the basics of horsemanship. 2 summers later, the couple quietly underwrote adaptive riding equipment for wounded veterans, and William lingered in the stables long after press lenses turned away, demonstrating how to guide a pony with one arm, or altered balance. Those are the memories that make her absence resonate. Several guests remarked that the field felt oddly quiet even when the scoreline was thrilling. "You realize," said one donor who has attended since the first cup, "that her applause is not mere decoration, it knits the occasion together, reminding us why we are here." Without that gentle encouragement, William's goals were greeted by an enthusiastic, but noticeably lighter ripple of cheers. And yet, absence can be eloquent. By staying away, the princess underscored a lesson many in their 50s, 60s and 70s know by heart: pushing beyond one's limits after illness can unravel months of progress. In stepping back, she models a healthier kind of resilience, acknowledging that strength sometimes speaks through restraint. Public reaction suggests the message landed powerfully. Comment threads brimmed with reflections like, "I cancelled my granddaughter's birthday visit last month because chemo fatigue hit. If Kate can sit out Polo, I can forgive myself too." Such resonance may prove more valuable than any photograph of her waving beside the winner's podium. For Prince William, the day's proceeds still mattered greatly. The silent auction alone raised a record sum, driven perhaps by the bittersweet motivation to honor Catherine by giving generously in her stead. Among the most sought-after lots, a private tour of the couple's beloved Anmer Hall Gardens, a signed first edition of William's conservation photography book, and, poignantly, a pair of children's riding boots Catherine chose personally for a bereavement charity's equine therapy program. Looking ahead, the calendar's next milestone is Wimbledon, long Catherine's sporting sanctuary. Organizers hope she will feel up to presenting trophies on finals weekend, and palace officials quietly prepare contingency plans for both scenarios. If she appears, expect her trademark blend of elegance and advocacy: pop-up mental health kiosks beside Court 14, surprise visits to wheelchair tennis practice, maybe even a courtside introduction of a new support app for families navigating long-term illness. If she doesn't, expect another thoughtful explanation that puts well-being ahead of optics, and expect public empathy to rise yet again. Beyond Wimbledon, aides describe Catherine's autumn diary as purposeful but paced. Engagements will center on 3 pillars she believes dovetail with her recovery: childhood resilience, palliative care innovation, and accessible sport. Meetings are shorter, venues chosen for easy access, and every speech includes a built-in cushion for rest. Yet those who have watched her recent hospital visits insist that no passion has been diluted. "She is operating like a laser," one charity director said. "Fewer appearances, deeper outcomes." That strategy mirrors lessons many in our audience have drawn from life's harder chapters. When you learn to conserve energy for what truly counts, a grandchild's recital, a neighbor's chemotherapy drive, a community garden, you discover there is still immense power in selective presence. Catherine is charting that same course on behalf of the crown: less pageantry, more potency. In the broader sweep of royal history, her decision to miss one sun-splashed polo afternoon may register as a footnote. Yet footnotes often hide turning points. The monarchy's future will rely not on the glitter of constant visibility, but on the credibility of leaders who acknowledge frailty, model recuperation, and then channel regained strength toward the nation's most human concerns. Catherine's carefully guarded comeback is shaping that narrative, chapter by steady chapter. So while the ponies galloped and the Pims flowed without her, the Princess of Wales spent those crucial hours face to face with children who see courage in every step she takes. In doing so, she reminded an entire country, and perhaps herself, that healing time is not wasted time, that service can flourish away from cameras, and that sometimes the loudest cheer is the one offered in quiet solidarity from a hospital corridor. If you, too, have ever chosen rest over appearance, or postponed a cherished tradition, because the body demanded mercy, know that you share common ground with a future queen. Feel free to tell us your story below. Let's normalize recovery as an act of strength, honor those who support us while we heal, and remember that a missing heartbeat in one summer ritual can give the entire royal heart a chance to beat stronger in seasons to come.